Okay, so now I have clean frames. I have 38 frames going on. And I just messed that up. Let me fix that. And this is how it ends. I want to see what that last moment is. Okay. Now, what if I want to augment some of those frames? Like, for instance, here when the mist is coming in, it feels strong and then it goes away right before my clouds start. So I might decide to go to my assets layer or my assets file, get some of that mist. Say this one. Select it all, copy it, move it over to my stage on top of everything. So hit Command V to paste it in. And you'll see now it's added to every layer. The one I want it in is 21. So I'm going to select every layer, 1 through 38, and turn it off. And then go back to 21, where I want a little bit of that lingering atmosphere, and turn it on, and then set its opacity, and maybe move it around. But this is a good example of where, actually let me warp it, really stretch it, where a texture fill, you can use simple animation on a texture fill, right? So I'm going to do what's called a pan, simple panning animation. I'm preparing the asset here, so let me erase it out a little bit. Nice soft eraser, really large. This bottom edge so it doesn't look quite so sharp. Okay, so now the idea is I'm going to take this texture fill and through all of my storm gathering frames, which are all the ones after 21, I'm going to move this mist slowly through it. So all I need to do that is select 22 to 38, turn the mist on for all of those, and then just position it a little bit differently for each one. And I can make the opacity of it flicker as well for each one. Sometimes it goes thinner, needs to move and change. Sometimes it goes a little thicker. I didn't move enough. Let's move it a little bit more. Whoops. I can move it up and down. I'm just adding it as a component to those storm clouds. And then I'll just reset its movement because it's not that big. And it's a GIF animation. I don't need to have a super long panning. So this is kind of how we can play with the special effects a little bit. I can play with the blending modes as well. And that will transition it for me. And then maybe I'll just have it clear up as it kind of moves across. So that it's not so obviously missing later on. Now I'll just kind of fade it out. Okay. So let's see how that looks. And if I like that, I'm going to reflatten my frames. So now that I have this new element in. So the mist gathers, mist kind of hangs out, and now it's moving across it until it eventually goes away. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to go to my very top layer and say flatten frames into layers, taking this, putting them back here. Still only have 38 frames, but now they're improved. And now I delete everything underneath my initial frame 1 and save it. Okay, so now I've finished this. My first keyframe right there. And he's supposed to look a little surprised. He still looks very upbeat. But now I need the lightning strike. So I could just draw it in. That actually wouldn't be that hard. I can do it in assets. But I also have reference here of a lightning strike I liked. If I open that with Photoshop, play it through, you can see there's a lot of components. It's 15 frames. And I'm going to take all those layers, select them all, move it out, and then move them into my assets, just like I did with the storm clouds. Make a new folder, new group, call this lightning strike. And you do whatever you need to do to execute your plan. I'm going to take these layers and now I'm going to move them onto here and move them into my lightning strike folder. Right. And now having that whole group selected, I can transform it. I want the lightning strike to hit him. So I need to center it on him. Like so. You can try distorting it a little bit, so it doesn't look so straight up and down. All right. And let's see, pin light. Slightly lower opacity. Something like that. Now let me get the whole thing. Let's move it or distort it. Make sure it's lining up right with him. There we go. And this is doing all the multiple layers within that animation. I think that will work. Now this is my assets file. And so now I know I can play it through in this order and get a lightning strike. So what do? Well, I'm going to take this whole folder and save that in my assets. Take this whole folder and move it over onto my stage. I don't need this one open anymore. I'm going to move that lightning strike folder up on top of everything. top of layer 38, turn it off, select all layers, because whenever you bring new layers into frames, it'll be a problem. And then I'm going to take all those frames, take them to the trash. Okay, and now I'm working on building up my next frame. So the idea is, well, that doesn't quite work. I didn't line it up correctly. Let me bring them all in, the whole group. Line it up correctly. There we go. Yes, cool. And now that works for all of them. Okay, so what I'm going to do now trash all my old frames and think about building the next one. So I have this, and now I want that storm cloud to be really strong. Strong enough to have rumblings of lightning in it. So I have my first little flash there, and I have to decide, okay, what filter is going to make sense for that? Actually, probably what opacity. And I think to get us to focus more on the storm than on him, I'm not going to have him moving a lot. But if I wanted to, I could bring in his movement cycle. I think I've kind of exhausted his movement cycle a little bit. I'm bored with it. So I'm going to make this lightning go really fast. So, let's see, it's going to start that way, maybe at a very low opacity. Then new frame, I'm going to build it with this. So I'll kind of strobe. Then I'll new frame, do the next one, build it. Next one, build it, and now here is where it can get kind of fun. So the lightning hits him. Next frame, it's going to go really strong. You can still see him slightly. And then the next frame, I'm going to just change the opacity of this somewhat. Just so it shimmers a little. And I'm going to use a new resource I'm going to bring into my assets, which is skeleton reference. I think this is the skeleton I liked best. And it's a little GIF on its own, but I don't think I need to, well, yeah, it's only a few. I can bring those all in. Let's open that up with Photoshop. So you can see I'm layering with not just other layers, but with other GIF animations as well. So I'm going to take all 4 of these, the motion cycle for the skeleton, move it into my assets folder. While they're all selected, make it big enough, distort it so